temperature come. When brushing your teeth, don't let the water run away. Come save the water, preserve the water right now. Temperature come, save the water. Whenever you're taking your shower, temperature come. Make saving the water your business every hour. The water, the water, the water, the water right now. It's up to me and you and you and you and you. The water right now.
Do just one thing.
Thanks. Works. Good morning, everybody. This is an interesting morning. You are in tune to the Waterline, and I have with me, well, first of all, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm Jamie Morris, Acting Communications Officer in the Ministry of Public Infrastructure and etc., as I like to say, although that's not official. With me this morning in the studio is Mr. Ian Francis, Inspector of Pumps, and we also have Clerk of Works, Mr. Malcolm Herbert. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen, on this edition of the Waterline. Good to have you. All right.
Blessed morning.
Awesome. So you look very tired. I imagine it's a bit of a hectic work week, Mr. Herbert?
Hectic work here.
Hectic work here.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem to be letting up, does it?
No.
All right, so let's talk about it. This is the very first time that I've been interviewing you on this program. I did mention before we were on air that we met very briefly, so we have not really had a chance to talk. So this is our chance to talk. I want you to tell me what you do as Clerk of Works, first of all.
Okay. Like I said, blessed morning to all. Basically, my role at Water Department is somewhat, well, after been doing it for a couple of years now, is somewhat simple if all goes well, but if all does not go well, it can be very tedious. I am in charge, I supervise, don't say in charge, I supervise all of the technical staff that falls below any one of the assistant engineers we have. So, for example, the field workers, the foreman for different districts, overseers, that sort of thing, I supervise them, help direct and coordinate the work, the schedule, with providing vehicles, both vehicles for them to travel in, heavy equipment for them to use to do work, make sure they have the tools, make sure the assistant engineers, when they do the plan, the schedule of what we're supposed to do, make sure that is being done, and then report back to either whichever the assistant engineers ask for my assistance or the general manager of the department.
Well, no wonder it's been a hectic work year. Because as you rightly said, if things go smoothly, then that works out. But then if things don't go smoothly, then you're right in the thick of things to help get the system running again as smoothly as it can.
Right.
Well, I know that I've talked to Ian before many times, and we have conversations daily because he's always lighting up my phone with some sort of notice about emergency interruption, etc. Even one this morning, as a matter of fact. So, as Inspector of Pumps, let's talk about what you do, Ian.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Ian Francis, Inspector of Pumps. What do I do as Inspector of Pumps? Mainly, I do a lot of different things. Coordinate with generators, making sure the generators are up and running. If they need repairs, get them repaired. Maintenance and pump. If there is issue with the pump, sort it out. What part we need, get it up and running. Also deal with production and distribution, making sure that there are water in all tanks, reservoir, and ready to give to the customers.
I love how you guys are making this sound so very easy, as if you wrap it up in a bow and that's it. Because I hear you talk and you summarize your tasks so well, but we know that really is not it at all. So let's get into the nitty gritty of it. You mentioned something, Ian. You talked about generators, and I wanted to know, as a layperson, or let's say quasi-layperson, semi-layperson now, because you've educated me quite a bit, in terms of the pumps on the island, general locations, how many pumps roughly are there?
We have about maybe 33, because we have what we call booster pumps. So we have some pumps actually in a tank, and we are pumping to other areas. So we have about, we could say 33 right around the island. But we have 28 active wells that we use right now. But as I said, we have some booster. That's why it come up to 33, because there are actually some pumps sitting in a tank to pump to the next tank.
Okay, so let's involve Mr. Herbert for a second. So if you're in need of equipment, how closely do you guys work together to coordinate the tasks that you do?
Apart from this gentleman here harassing me every day. Yeah, well, after, like I said before, after doing this for a number of years, we tend to, myself, Mr. Francis, Mr. Gunaway, Mr. Hobson, Mr. Carty, Mr. Doyling. These are folks that who are either foreman, inspectors, overseers. So the ideal thing would be they inform me either the day before or as early as possible in the morning, because of the fact that, you know, it's a corporation, a government entity, so you don't have tools and equipment in abundance. So you have to kind somewhat prioritize and give importance, different levels of importance to certain jobs. So they will either, we have a number of group chats that are used to put in, for example, the road that Wakandot is doing at St. Peter's right now. The foreman for that area, Mr. Curtis Hobson, since Monday when he came in, the first thing he said to me is, on Wednesday, I have this plan to do and I need a backhoe. I need some heavy equipment. So right away, I start to put things in motion, organize with one of the operators, let them know, well, you're going to go here Wednesday. There are some equipment that we don't have that we have to rent, like hammers, heavy hammers, demolition hammers. Call a supplier, tell him, well, put me on schedule for Wednesday, starting 8:30 in this area. And these are the logistics that every day I deal with in order to have, try and keep all of the divisions, all of the gentlemen names we hear me speak about just now, as happy and as comfortable as possible.
Well, I don't think our viewers got to see you pull the grey beard earlier. Definitely, I know the listeners didn't know that you did that. Grey beard seems to come with the work, it seems, is what you're suggesting.
That and some others.
that and some others. All right,
Yeah.
so, well, very important work, definitely. So I love the way that you touched on how the Water Services Department plays a role even in the road work, because there is coordination
Yes.
within the different departments of the ministry, and that's really important to bring out. Ian, I want to bring you back in here as we talk about something you mentioned before, which was generators. I was curious to know how the pumps and the generators work together. Does every station or does every pump have a generator affixed? If not, then what are the implications when there's an outage of electricity, that sort of thing?
There are actually 21 generators that we have, and we have 28 active wells. There are 18 that is up and running, working, and there are 3 that is not functioning. When electricity goes, we have to go manually and start the generator. Before that, we used to have what we call automatic. So it used to be automatic, but we have developed some issues with that part, so the generators are not automatic. So we have to go manually when electricity goes and start each generator if electricity goes right around the island.
Okay, hang on. I want to interject here because I do want to bring this point out. So if electricity goes at, well, right now we have that rationing schedule, so maybe not so much at 8 or 9 o'clock. But does that work for you? Like 8 or 9, have you done that? Have you?
Well, yes, Skelec normally sends us the schedule, so we are proactive, meaning that we goes, sometimes we even start the generator before the electricity goes, so at least when it goes, the pump is up and running and the generator ready, so we don't have to go and do it after the current is down. So we won't be able to lose water from that pump. We'll be getting water still from that pump because the generator is on already.
Okay, so then that means that you definitely, let's say, reduce the downtime
Yes.
by being proactive and coordinating with Skelec, because that's important as well.
Yes.
Now, there might be instances when the viewers, as customers, don't understand why they don't have water, but that might also be part of it.
Yes, electrical issue.
Okay.
Just to
Yes.
somewhat piggyback on that there. There's a number of folks who works for Skelec that we have very close relationship with. We will call and some of the time based on what they are doing and the priority is at. I think most of the time when we call them, I will say that they give us number one priority. There are times when they're doing, depend what they're doing, we have to kind of wait a while and thing. But these guys, they fully understand, so as much as possible they do try and work with us and get us back up and running. The problem does be though, some of the time something happen. When I heard you say 9 o'clock, I thought you was going to speak about 9 p.m.
That's actually what I meant, yes.
Okay, right, because sometimes things happen 9, 10 o'clock, unless person at the power station, at the plant, power plant, call and say, well, they lose power. The amount of ampage you're seeing on the generator it drops, so they will figure out there might be a fault, or however they do recognize there's a fault. We might not get the call and say this area is out or that area is out. When the guys get up 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning to go and start the holy treks, when they reach, they will realize, well, this reservoir should have been full, but it's almost empty. And then they go and they check the well sites, and then is when they realize, boy, the pump chip, and which means it was off for extended time. So by the time we now start to get things organized, most of the population don't start to use off the water. So persons in some areas will be out of water, some will have low pressure, and it's not that we didn't shut off, or it's not that we shut off. Is sometimes these are circumstances beyond our control. As Mr. Francis mentioned earlier, the ideal setup for us at Water Services is to have all our generators automated. So if depends on what time current go, it's just seamless. Click in, pump start back up, have it. Unfortunately, like everything else, this takes a lot of money and a lot of time. So we have a number of generators that were automated, and because of some of them because of the age, some of them because of other problems, in order to kind of have them, we set them up in a way that if current go, we go and we start them. And well, when I say we, the guys in the the guys in the field, that part is easy for me. Just call them.
Right, you're not the one getting out of bed.
But
then.
yeah, our supporting cast who makes us look very good at times. Yeah, they go out and they set up the generators, start back up the pumps, make sure water go into the tanks, and then they call back and they report. These parts are very expensive, as one would realize, and because of the location, we're on an island in the middle of the ocean, so there are a lot of sea blasts, salt water in the air, and this affects heavily a lot of the equipments them, and this calls for regular maintenance, which is money spending to keep these equipments up and running.
I'm glad that you hit a lot of those points naturally. So, Ian, I know you can speak to it definitely because we've had conversations about the reservoir being low, and we don't always let the public know exactly what's. Let's say we don't want to alert them, we don't want to alarm them. So, you know, we kind of make that language abstract. But I like the fact that you mentioned it because it's really beyond your control sometimes.
Yes.
As best as you try. And so I'm hoping that the public, you're listening, you understand that these gentlemen work very hard supporting CAST, which is another thing that I love that you said.
Yes.
You're absolutely right, because a lot of the guys who are out there working in the trenches,
Yes.
we don't see, we just hear about.
Yes.
And we like to complain when we don't have water.
Yes.
Water services, right? But they work really hard, so that's definitely important.
Yes.
I also want to piggyback on something that you said concerning the maintenance of equipment and the cost, because I've had many a conversation with the water manager / engineer, Mr. Cromwell Williams, about the cost of water and the services, and perhaps not necessarily the work that needs to be done not being commensurate with what's being paid for the service. So that being said, it leads me to the other point, which is there have been considerable investments in additional water sources. So
Yes.
we've got aerial sources looking for places on the island where you can drill wells. That's in the pipeline, if it hasn't been operationalized as yet. We recently, and it would be remiss of me not to mention it, last week we had the groundbreaking of the
Yes.
desalination plant in Bastyr, which is to bring some 2 million gallons of water per day to the area on completion. So that is to say, while the equipment might be expensive, I guess I understand to some degree the balancing act that's taking place
Yes.
priority-wise,
Yes.
because I don't think it makes sense initially to invest in the automated pumps if you don't have water going to the pumps.
Precisely.
So you deal with that first, and then you come back and hopefully hit this in the next iteration. Ian, I see that your eyes are like telling me yes, that there's more. Is there something you want to add to that? Okay, so I said it all. That's bad. I don't want to wrap up the show too early. Okay.
No, along with that, I know some of the customers, there are a number of customers out there who at times get very frustrated, which is somewhat understandable, because I myself at times get frustrated. Reasons being, as I said before, is a governmental department with a specified number of staff, tools, equipment, materials, and budget. One has to understand the budget section of it, especially. To get water from when the rain fall, because everything with potable water, even when you deal with desal, is rainfall. Rainfall in the sea, rainfall on land, soak down into the earth, into a pocket. We go, we drill, bring up the water. So to get that water to a customer, a consumer faucet, that takes money. If we can get the water from a well, it means that we have to do land oversight surveying to see the best possible location to do drilling. When you don't go, you have to get drill rig, materials, persons, go, you drill the well. Case the well, set it up. You run your different samples, make sure it's potable water, safe for everybody. After you're done with that, all that's expense. After you're done with that, then we, most of the time at water department comes in, because we no longer drill for ourselves. We outsource it now. We comes in now, and we, from the information that was given to us from the driller, we install pumps, motors, column pipes to bring the water from down beneath the earth's surface up into a reservoir. So those pumps, motors, for example, the smallest pumps that we use at present is a 5.5 horsepower, which is a booster that we use to take water from one tank and send it to a higher elevation, because as you will realize and you look around the island, you see people building higher and higher in the hillside. Our reservoirs, most of our reservoirs were built back in the 70s, early 80s. So now we have to be constructing reservoir a little higher up to supply folks that goes above that elevation of those old reservoir. So that small pump, 5.5 horsepower, which is very small, that the pump and the motor for that is close to $12,000 US, and that's one of the smallest one. When you go to the 75 horsepower or the 100 horsepower, then you're going up there. And one has to understand that water department have to have a spare, so in case that one that is using goes down, we can't tell the consumers that, oh, the pump down, so we can't supply with water. We have to go take out that one, put in that one, and then get another one. So I like to say there's money coming out of my pocket, because in my opinion, the more government has to dip into the pocket, so to speak, to give us to buy things, there's a possibility that you might have a little tax increase here, a little this year. I am paying for it, but that's money wise coming up my pocket. Okay? So I try my best, and I harass the guys as much as possible to maintenance. But even with maintenance, it has a cost.
Fair enough. And unfortunately, this is where we're going to have to leave it. But that's a very solid point. So if I could just cap it off by saying, I think both of you have shed a lot of light on the parts that we don't see. We know that there's so much more to it. Before I let you go, I do have to commend you on the turnaround time, because it's something that you mentioned. I've witnessed people on social media interacting with the page saying that they are pleased with the turnaround time. You mentioned taking out the pump, putting it back in. You guys work really fast to restore service, and that's something that needs to be said. So I'm saying it now. Thank you for the good work, and thank you for what you do. You have been listening to The Water Line. My guests today were Mr. Malcolm Herbert and Mr. Ian Francis, staff at the St. Kitts Water Services Department. I'm Jamie Morris, saying goodbye until next time.
Water is life. Water is